Welcome to Cosplay Stitch and Seam. I'm Pannon.
I'm V-Fire.
And I'm David.
Hooray!
We did it!
We did it? What did we did?
I don't know, we didn't, forget our names.
Oh, good.
We started another episode, just like we normally do.
Oh, good. Good for us.
Affirmations!
Good for us. So I've been playing Animal Crossing, and, every time you can, have a little party about one of your achievements, and it's like, what do you want to say? And I'm always like, good for us. Because you can say things like, we're awesome, or we did it. And I'm just like, nah, good for us. It's fine.
I always do that. We're awesome. And it's like, you just put in another bridge that you just moved from the other bridge the other day. They're like, what are you doing, Mercedes?
Well, welcome to the episode. As always, if you want to tell us about your Animal Crossing adventures at home, feel free to email us at cosplaystitchandseam@gmail.com, because I don't know, I just barely started playing, and if people want to come to my island and give me stuff, I will take it. I had little Hina came to my island, and she just dropped a whole bunch of goodies and was like, here you go, here you go, here you go. I was like, yes.
You're like, think of how much I need.
I know I'm very late to the game. Also, if you guys have cool islands, I want to visit them. So,
oh, mine's garbage.
Oh no!
Don't come to mine.
Mine is just barely started, so it's a little sad looking. But it is what it is.
If every pork chop were perfect, we wouldn't have hot dogs.
Right. Hey, Mercedes, where else can they contact us?
Oh yes, they can contact us at cosplaystitchandseam.com and fill out the Google form. I am doing great. To be fair, I got gassed out of my job today, so
yeah,
gas leak.
That can be a horror story.
Yeah.
David?
You could also join our Facebook page. Facebook is a great place where you can join our Work in Progress Wednesdays, share your cosplay horror stories there as well. And while you're on the internet, if you want to help out the show, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever they let you. Let us know where you leave those, and we will give you a shout out on the show. But that's not the only way that you could support us. You could also support us if you have a few bucks laying around. We have our Patreon, patreon.com/cosplaystitch. For $3 a month, we give you a shout out on the show. For $5 a month, you get to join our live stream D&D game, which is happening March something?
7th.
March 7th.
So as of this episode, our last crusade would have already been last Saturday. So there should be a new episode up for our everyday listeners and a live stream that people got to go to on last Sunday.
Woo!
So join our Patreon so that way you can be part of the group. We won't keep it behind a paywall forever, so you'll still be able to at least get the audio. But if you don't want a Patreon, we also have a coffee account, KOFI, and then Cosplay Stitch as well. And if you want to keep chatting with us or just kind of talk with us a little bit more frequently, we do have our own Discord server. We post it on our Twitter and on our Facebook. We had some great live stream that happened a little while ago.
Oh, yeah.
And Pannon, you mentioned that you were working on a blanket.
Yeah.
Yeah. So somebody actually posted a Pannon mentioning the Nightmare Before Christmas quilt. And then somebody saying, where's the blanket? I want to see it as a meme. They took the time to make the meme
oh my gosh,
that they wanted to see
this
blanket. So.
It's freaking brilliant.
That's so amazing. Now I need to get to work on it. I did I got a grid sheet because I'm not sure how quilts work. I know how they work, but I don't know how they work, making one from my brain and not from a kit.
Poser.
So I got grid paper and I planned out how big I want the things to be and where I want squares to be. So there's a plan. It's just got to be enacted. Mercedes, tell us about that brush challenge you got.
Oh yeah. I still don't have a deadline for it, so
just be thinking about it.
But yes, guys, you can still send me in 2 videos. First video is you guys being like, oh, look at me, I'm a normal person. And you have a brush in your hand. It could be a hairbrush, a makeup brush, a toothbrush. Oh my gosh, toothbrush would be funny. And you cover up the camera with it, and then when you uncover the camera, this will be your second video that you send, you are in cosplay, and then you can toss that brush up, down, left, right, all around. I will figure out how to edit them together. You can email those to us at cosplaystitchandseam@gmail.com.
Hooray. So you said toothbrush, and my brain immediately went to like Fairly Odd Parents and the shiny teeth, and that'd be amazing.
I love
Your
it.
Give me
shiny,
all the-
shiny teeth and me.
Yes, all the Chip Skylark cosplays. Give me that.
Oh my gosh.
The Chip Skylark toothbrush challenge.
Key.
So what are we
Sorry.
talking about today?
Yeah.
Because it can't be just about Chip Skylark cosplay.
No.
As
Oh my
much,
gosh.
as much fun as that would be.
And teeth.
Well, we are continuing our featuring various cosplay materials, and this week we are featuring adhesives.
It's a sticky situation.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Just something I'm stuck on.
Oh,
Really? Wow. Guys, we're not even at the end of the episode yet.
I know, but it's so easy.
It is, but you're just getting stuck in a rut here.
Ah!
So yeah, we're talking about glues, adhesives of all sorts. So Elmer's glue, you may know, started back in 1932, but
I did not know that.
Did you not?
No.
Oh, okay.
You said as you know, and I don't.
Oh, that's okay. Well, now you know.
Yes, now you know.
But adhesives actually date back like way, way, way back to like 70,000 BC, where people had like tree sap and red ochre to protect their cave paintings, which I was like, is that like early resin crafting?
Oh.
The tree sap?
Fancy.
Maybe? Yeah. I thought that was pretty cool. But we're here less to talk about the history and more to talk about like how it works with cosplay. So I thought we could talk about what kinds there are out there and how you can use them. Do you guys have a favorite go-to adhesive that you use a lot for cosplay?
Yes, but like I'm not the wisest about using it.
You know what? There is no wrong way to cosplay. So
I mean, safety first. That's
Yes.
yeah, well, okay.
Always.
Do not hot glue things to your skin. Please.
and be in well ventilated places when you're using contact cement,
okay.
as some of my previous
You know,
cosplay horror
also
stories
good.
have been.
Yeah.
Or E6.
Yep.
E6000. Well ventilated place. You don't use that
Oh,
inside.
geez.
Sadie walked away with a bunch of headaches after doing that because we didn't
Yeah.
know.
Well, even with E6000, I think people forget that it's toxic to touch also.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you should be using, like, gloves or tools to use it. Because, like, now I've done it so long that, like, my fingertips get really itchy when I use it.
Oh,
And I'm
wow.
like, that's probably not good.
Yeah, no.
Yikes.
So, yeah, I started using gloves or they have these really cool little, like, silicone fingertip things you can use. And those are fun.
That's
I have
cool.
seen those. Those are pretty cool.
Yeah, I got them at like the dollar store. You can get them like $3 for $1. I was like, yeah.
Ah, nice.
But just scrolling through, like off the top of my head, some of the glue types out there are, of course, glue sticks, and by that I mean like for kitty crafts.
Wow.
Kitty, oh, gross. Kitty crafts. Ew. Like paper crafts, like pepakura and things made of paper. A little stop.
Not hot glue sticks, just
No,
regular glue sticks.
Yes.
It's
yes.
not chapstick, by the way. It looks like it,
Oh,
but
no.
it's not.
Yeah, please don't use that as chapstick. Liquid glues like Elmer's, Mod Podge, Barge Cement, Craft Glue, spray glues like 3M Heavy Duty Headliner, Loctite, things like that. We got tape, which comes in all sorts. Tape, double-sided, duct tape, masking tape, wig tape, clothing tape.
Wig tape's nice.
And the heat-activated sort, like hot glues, heat and bonds, and hem tapes, and things like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So sticky.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of my favorite websites when it comes to, like, if I'm using a new, not even necessarily a new material, but if I'm like, I don't know what is the best way to glue this to that sort of a thing, there's actually a website called thistothat.com.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Right.
That's
and you
a
put
great
in
name.
the materials. It's just like a single page, and all it is you pull from a drop-down menu and go like, I'm gluing something like plastic to fabric, and it will tell you the best glues to use for that.
I'm going to glue styrofoam to glass.
I mean, I think it's on there.
Oh, 3M7 for not a strong bond. Oh, it even tells you, like, this is a less toxic alternative. Here's for a strong bond, but it's not a strong bond. That's really cool. Wow.
Right.
Ooh, and it tells you that, that certain adhesives will contain a solvent and it will erode the styrofoam, also releasing all sorts of toxic fumes. That is what some glues will do, so be aware of what you are gluing. This is a great resource.
I read that like you were the narrator for Townsville in the Powerpuff Girls. And toxic glues!
Oh my gosh, yes. Oh my gosh, Kay, it's awesome. I did leather to leather, and it's all barge. And I'm like, yes, barge contact cement. That is like the only recommendation. It doesn't say anything else. And I'm like, yes, you are correct.
Well. See, it knows what it's talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that a resource like that exists, because a lot of times, especially with cosplay, I feel like we're using new materials or new ideas of like putting something on something else. And I don't know, like, what's the best way to glue rubber to plastic or whatever. But there's already a resource where they're like, this is probably the best way to do it.
They also have some humor about it. So, like, I just chose leather to metal, and it said, household goop. Whenever you are gluing metal, it's a good idea to clean it first with steel wool or sandpaper. Or sandpaper.
Sandpaper?
Sandpaper. And then in parentheses, rust never sleeps.
Very good. Very good.
This is an amazing resource, Pennon. You are wonderful.
Oh, thank you. I can't remember who told me about it, but like... way back in the day found out about it, and I was really happy to find it still exists. So yes, but it's also really good for telling you like what kind of hold you need and like what kind of hold the glues will give, because at least with cosplay I feel like we have one of two, maybe more than two, but usually it's like, do you need a flexible hold or do you need a rigid hold? So like for flexible stuff is probably going to be what goes on fabric, whereas a more rigid hold is stuff you don't want to move, like props and armor and, I don't know, things you don't want to move.
It reminds me of that chart of like the engineer's chart of like, should it move, should it not move, duct tape versus WD-40. Yeah.
Right.
And then somebody posts a picture of their dead bird next to it, and it's like, no, not that.
No. I had the exact opposite problem today where, like, I was thinking of glues all day, and I needed to get machine oil for my serger because it got stuck. And I'm, like, thinking of glues all day, and I'm like, no, I need something that does the opposite. I need it to move. Please move. So... So yeah, so for use in sewing, let's talk about glues we use in sewing. Yeah.
Sounds great. This one I'm a little bit unfamiliar. So what am I gluing? Is this like a temporary glue so that way I can sew around it? Like not necessarily just talking about just the glues themselves, but like what's the purpose of having a glue on fabric?
Oh, definitely.
I am on the same board as David with this because I don't think I've ever used glue on fabric. And when I have, I hated it.
Okay.
Like, I remember, like, one time I just remember just, like, ugh. Like, okay, wait. I take that back. I have used it for one thing. When I fray edges, I don't want it to keep fraying and get worse and worse and worse. I want it to stay at, my artistic frayed edge.
Right.
And I will use fabric glue on that. Just whatever generic fabric glue, or... you can also use clear nail polish. Yeah,
that's definitely a good one. So yeah, for stopping fray is a great use for glue. It really depends on what you're doing with it, I guess, and what your purpose is, like you guys were saying. One of the things I kind of consider an adhesive is heat and bond, because it's really just glue that you warm up on both sides to stick onto things. And I use that for like applique at least for like, it gives it some rigidity and it helps it stick to another fabric. And then I usually still do some finishing on the edges, but it's good for sticking this to that. For like, you can use glues for, I was kind of thinking of interfacing as a glue, because not like a glue, but an adhesive, because some of the interfacings you can iron onto one side and it sticks, and then you can sew it to other things. Same for things like hem tape or stitch witchery and stuff like that. I have seen people do costumes with hot glue. It really depends on what you're using it on your costume for. Like, I would not suggest like putting together like your seams with hot glue, just because it doesn't hold as well as you might like. And it's not going to last as long as a sewn seam is going to. But the thing I see adhesives most used for is embellishments in fabric. So putting on things like rhinestones, most people use like E6000 or the Hotfix rhinestones, which is just like a heat activated adhesive.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's not that you can't or don't use glue. You just want to make sure that you think about what you're doing with it, because you don't want to use a glue that's water soluble in something that you need to wash.
Oh yeah, yeah, because then it'll just come right off.
Right. I like E6000 for gluing things like rhinestones, etc., to fabrics, just because it's a flexible glue. It's a glue that, like, if your body moves and stuff, it's less likely that the thing is going to pop off because it's made to flex a little bit.
Okay. Flexibility.
I mean, obviously, glue is not the first thing you think of when it comes to fabrics, but I feel like especially in cosplay, you're sometimes putting weird things onto fabric.
Oh yeah,
I've seen glue used for like like ornaments and things that hang off the bottom of skirts or capes or whatnot. So they'll sculpt something and then they'll glue it to the fabric. Just all kinds of options. Like, it's not a bad thing to glue stuff to your fabric. Just make sure you're thinking about wearability and washability and what you're gluing and whether or not the thing you're gluing on can be washed.
Sure.
So, but yeah, I think we use them much more in like armor and props, which is definitely going to be more your area, V-Fire.
Oh yes. So like the website said, barge is amazing.
I love barge.
It's not just great for like leather, but it's also great for foam. Like I think my favorite thing about it is like the small wait time that you have. Because with contact cement, you have to apply it to both sides that you're gluing together. So both pieces that you're putting together. You apply it to both of them, and you have to wait for it to essentially be tacky. And essentially, it's like you lay it out. Thinner's better. You don't want to go super thick because it won't hold as well. It'll also take a lot longer to get tacky, and essentially the shine just goes away. It doesn't look shiny anymore, and then you stick it together, and it just does not come apart. I do keep getting told that Barge's recipe has changed recently.
Yes.
But I haven't bought any of the newer stuff because, like, it lasts a decent amount of time, although I think my current batch is finally garbage. And I do need to get a new set, and so I'll let you know if it still holds up, but I still see that it is a lot of people's go-to, so...
Yeah, I actually used the new kind in my Heartless build for when I did the Reaper Heartless from Kingdom Hearts 3.
How'd that go?
It worked really well. Good. I mean, I still need to get like a photo shoot of that.
Yes.
But it made like a 9-foot tall Heartless mascot. So
so it did okay. It
did its job. I mean, the biggest thing. Well, when I was talking to the manufacturer, the place that sold it, I was asking about like what the main difference is between the recipes, and they're like, for the stuff that people use it for cosplay, you're probably not going to notice a difference. Whereas if you're using it for like really heavy duty stuff, you might. But they said the changes are fairly minimal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah. So no, I agree. I love barge cement, and it's if you want a thing to be stuck to the thing and not come apart, that is the glue to use. And also, it does have flex to it.
Yes,
which is very nice.
It's so nice, especially when working with foams and leathers. It's nice to have that flex because it can be make or break it essentially.
Right. But yeah, in the mascots, we used nothing but barge cement, and it was used for sticking foam together. It was used for making shoes, sticking the sole of the shoe to the bottom of a foot thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was used for everything. So is a great all-purpose, but it is very toxic, and please use in a well-ventilated area.
Yes. And that smell will not go away. If you are not in a well-ventilated area, that does not go away for at least a week. At least.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Also, a hairdryer is your best friend if you're trying to get both of the sides to not be wet. You just run a hairdryer over it for a couple seconds and then put them together.
So good.
Yeah. So I think glue is very important in prop and armor and whatnot construction, because you got to stick something to start building, right?
Yeah.
And you can, we get all kinds. We were talking about foam last week, and you can hot glue foam to foam and build up a whatever model and cover it in other things, but you're definitely starting with glue on your product.
Mm-hmm. I've been watching on YouTube this cosplayer SKS Props.
Oh yes, good stuff
and
there.
He does really great work with foam, but he also he mixes it. So this is something that you'll want to be cautious about because of the fact that these are active chemicals that could interact negatively with each other. But when he uses barge cement, he will around the edges specifically of his seam, if it's a larger prop, use dots of hot glue, or not hot glue, but crazy glue, or
interesting,
cyanide acrylate, or whatever it's called that they say on Tested all the time. By using those two, it not only ensures that the entirety of it is, but the places that it's most likely to fail have double the chance of staying secure.
Ooh,
nice.
I like those odds.
That sounds awesome. Oh.
So yeah, that kind of brings me into one of the other things that we use glue for, which is reinforcing things.
Yes.
Because that's definitely a thing, is when you're wearing a piece of armor, or if you have a prop where you have any sort of tension or where it bends, things like that.
Oh shoot, I forgot about talking about glue and plastics for armor, but we can come back to it.
No, do it. Yeah.
So sometimes you use plastic for armor, and you gotta be able to glue that too, right? Most super glues work. It just depends on what kind of wait time you want to have. You can also look at what kind of plastic it is and see what kind of glue works best with it, and be aware that there's going to be some toxic mixes if you're not careful. So it's just really about doing your research, making sure you're using the correct glue. I personally, again, you've heard me say it before, I like using Fuse Bond for my super glues. It's great in a pinch, and you literally just have to pinch it for 30 seconds and then it's set. And don't bother it for 10 minutes after that. And it holds really, really well. The only time I've seen it super duper fail catastrophically has been in cold weather. And that makes sense because it gets cold, it gets more brittle, and it just will snap whatever it's glued to off. And again, that's only because I went hiking in a costume in the cold, and that happened. So,
oh
definitely.
No! Yeah.
Oh, so I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So with fabric, we talked about gluing on embellishments. Do you find that for armor and props, do you use a different glue when you're doing the construction aspect as opposed to when you're finishing up and gluing on little embellishment pieces like studs and I don't know, fancy little ta-da-ta-das? All over your piece.
Yeah, again,
do you use a different kind?
It depends again on what the material is, because the Fuse Bond does most materials and works pretty darn well. But if I want something a little stronger than that, I'll grab the E6. gotta be very patient with E6 because it takes like 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
But like there's a lot of different things that you can like explore with, and again, just doing the research, being like, okay, I'm trying to glue, this googly eye on. What's the best glue for it? Sometimes hot glue is just fine. Sometimes you're like, I don't want this falling off later, and so you find something a little stronger. Or, let's say you're doing googly eyes, you hot glue it on, and then you're covering the piece with fabric so it looks like leather, and so, that piece being glued on, it's going to obviously use a different kind of glue to make sure that the fabric glues properly to your piece, and you don't stain the fabric. That's happened to me before. Makes for a cool texture that I didn't want.
No, yeah. I was going to say, you reminded me, I forgot to mention when we were talking about like fabrics, but this is kind of like both fabric and armor. Like last week we were talking about gluing, like when I did my muscle suits and I glued the muscles on. The glue I used for that was the 3M Headliner Spray Adhesive, which is really good for gluing foam to fabrics. It works a lot like the barge cement where you let both sides get tacky and then stick it on. But I also used that same glue for Camilla from Fire Emblem when I was making her like boob armor stuff. And I needed to like have this is like a weird way to talk about it, but like if you're doing boob armor, it has like a nice curve to it, right?
Yes.
And you're trying to get it to have like a leather look, and it can be really hard to get leather to take on a shape like that without putting seams in it. And so what I did was I got a stretch pleather, and I built a base out of like thermoplastics and foam that had the like gentle curve I wanted.
There you go.
And then I did a spray adhesive on the cup, and I stretched it over and just folded the ends on the inside and then did a nice covering for it. But it made it look like it has that nice curve and there's no seams. So it can be good for stretching fabric over a rigid form and getting it to stick and look like it's molded leather.
Me likey.
Yeah.
That's super cool. That sounds awesome.
Hey. I've seen people do it for like different armor pieces too, where they'll get like a shiny like metallic spandex, and they'll spray adhesive onto like maybe a foam base that they've carved out, and they just like slowly stretch and get the fabric into all the little nooks and crannies because it stretches, and it just makes the whole thing look metallic.
I like.
That's super cool.
Yeah. It's really interesting, like all the different ways people will come up with to.
There's more than one way to
cosplay
skin a cat.
and build armors, and yeah, exactly.
It's
don't
actually
very cool.
skin cats, please.
Yeah. Let's see, what else do we have for armor? Like wearability. I wasn't sure how to like phrase this, but gluing on the pieces that help it stay on your body, like all of your loops and your D-rings and things like that. I know people will do like the little warbler to stick it on, but I have seen people use like different glue. I've seen them try to sew it on. It doesn't always go great depending on what their armor is made out of, but yeah, you can use glues for that too. And then the last one I have here, this is mostly with hot glue. I've seen used in props to diffuse light. So if you don't want like the bulb to show up like really brightly through like a gem or crystal or wherever it's shining through, and you want it to look like less like, hey, there's a light bulb here, you can use it to diffuse your light and give it a softer glow. So I did that like a couple times. I think the most recent was in my Samurai Chew when I had the little like light up weapons. I wanted the like little, I don't know, Raichu eyeballs to glow on the prop, but it was like really bright when I did just LEDs. So I was like, I'm really going to put a little hot glue in here, and it was like nice and soft. So I can do that.
Very cool.
Yeah. I was trying to think of what else. I also used like hot glue on my staff I used for my 5D fluorite from Tsubasa. That like weird floating crystal he has on his staff. So I got projector like clear projector, you know, those like old schooly projectors where people would like write things for. Yeah.
The overhead
like,
kind of thing.
Yeah. So, you know, the plastic they'd use for that, I found some that had already been dyed blue.
Ooh.
And I put it together with hot glue and this plastic stuff. And then I went over it and like just dripped hot glue to look like ice crystals all around it. And it actually like ended up looking way cooler than I thought it did. So I've seen hot glue used a lot in like icy sort of builds.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah.
I like seeing like where people like have the hot glue as a base and then kind of using that as decoration on top of things. I've seen people like use it for that ice kind of motif, but then also like I didn't have time to actually go out and buy a bunch of like studs or whatever, so I used hot glue and a matchstick and I made it look like rivets. So that's how it's riveted is hot glue.
Oh, that actually reminds me, on my Princess Serenity, I actually, people like hear this and they look affronted, but I hot glued silk on that.
Wow.
Yeah, it sounds like horrible, but her little like arm puffs that she has on the sides are like the topic of much debate in crafter circles. Like, what are they made of and what are they supposed to look like? And I wanted to go for like a sculpted fabric look. But I was like, I don't have time to like sit there and hand stitch everything as I curve it around a form. So I just like made all these curly shapes and then I hot glued it to a base and it looked really good and you couldn't tell it was hot glued. So
that's nice. So awesome.
Yeah. So you don't have to look too horrified about it. But yeah, last I thought we could talk about glue that is used in like makeup and wigs, because that's also a big one with cosplay.
This is one I want to learn more about. Because like I do use wig tape to help hold on like my lace fronts.
Yes. I did that for the first time the other day, and I ripped out a bunch of hair. I was like, this tape is way stronger than that. Yeah. Well, it was
don't do that.
The Chinese drama wig I got for Wei Wuxian, and it has the like really long sideburn pieces, and I had to tape it all the way down instead of just like on my upper hairline. And it was right there on my sideburns. I was just like, ah! So I'm gonna have to get used to doing that one. But yeah, it worked really well. Like it held like well.
That's good. At least right?
Yeah. I've also seen people use one called Prose Aid for that, for in place of wig tape. Also for prosthetics.
Yes, yeah, prosthetics. I think Rena used Prose Aid to hold her gem to her. For Kyoko, and then I used wig tape to hold my gem to my belly button. For Sayaka.
Right. I feel like it's one of the hardest ones is like figuring out what you can use to glue things to your body that is going to be like flexible enough to like be able to move in it, but also like rigid enough that it actually holds. It is definitely like a balancing act, I feel. Like for elf ears, like I will honestly just straight up use the same glue I use for my fake lashes, because it's like a flexible adhesive, because your eyes tend to move a lot.
What?
Yeah, I know, crazy. So if I don't have like a specific like I just blanked on the name of it. What's the like go-to glue for
spirit gum?
Yes, spirit gum.
There you go.
I just totally blanked on that. I tend not to be a fan of spirit gum because for me and my skin type, I guess it just cracks and falls off and flakes.
The flaky bits of that is like the worst. It's like
yeah. So for like prosthetic-y things, I tend to use either eyelash glue, or if I need something that's really heavy duty, but it also needs to flex, I use medical adhesive, which is a silicone-based glue that's used for like holding like IVs in and stuff in medical whatnots. But it's also like a really strong and sorry, I should have warned about that. But it's also good for sticking like things that need to flex but really need to stay on. So like on that same Sailor Moon one, some people will make the little sleeve puffs part of the dress, and some people will do them like with elastic. From the references I had, it didn't have anything that connects on the underside of her arm. So I did it as like a little U-shaped thing that just floats on her arm. So to attach it, I used that medical adhesive because it's really strong, heavy duty. It does not come off until you use the like remover. And it worked great. And Melissa, with her Queen Nehelenia that we did together, her whole cape is held on that same way because it doesn't have any attachment points in the references.
That's right.
So her whole cape is held on with just the adhesives.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a big cape.
It is a big cape. But it holds. That stuff is crazy, like
that's
how
amazing.
Well it holds. I would not suggest...
And it also comes off.
Right. I would also not suggest doing that one for more than a day like if you wear the same costume back to back, I would not suggest that because gluing in the same place.
Ouch.
It can be ouch.
Yeah. Be aware of your limitations and also like it's okay to let your skin heal. Please do.
Right,
Please let it heal.
Seriously. Because that's one of the other things I was going to mention is we use adhesives for like open binding. I don't know if people do that. People still do that. I just don't see it as much these days, I guess. But like chest binding, I always use like the Johnson & Johnson tape for that, but they don't carry it anymore, which is sad. But yeah, it's the same thing where you like want to be careful and not use it too many days in a row convention wise because you're putting tape on bits that can be painful.
Yeah.
Ouchies.
Yeah. Oh, you can also, for wigs, use different kinds of glue for building your like initial structure. If it's one of like a big dramatic build, like crazy Pokemon hair or whatnot, you can build your base out of like foam and something lightweight. And hot glue and whatnot and put that together. I know when I was first doing like the pompadour things for Josuke from JoJo's, I literally like hot glued the base into the wig. So it has hot glue in it. And then you just like flip the hair over the what is it? The form that you've made out of foam and style it. But yeah, it works well with wigs because wigs are synthetic fiber, so
yeah, and like, man, hot glue is like itself is like so universal.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, it's really nice in a pinch. It's not like for something that you want to like last forever and ever, but it's so good for like, I need to hold this in place, and you do that, and then you put something else over it eventually, you know, to like hold it better in place. But like, goodness, that stuff does amazing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Is there any uses that I've forgotten for glues?
Did we mention the glue sticks? The craft glue
no.
sticks on eyebrows?
That's a good one.
Not hot glue sticks on eyebrows, like I thought earlier, and was like, oh gosh, ow, and then I was like, wait,
not that. The craft glue sticks for eyebrows, so that way if you wanted to draw on eyebrows or make it seem like you don't have any eyebrows at all, this is a technique that is used across the board, not only for cosplayers but also for drag queens and kings. Like, it's a fantastic way to accentuate, exaggerate, or minimize your eyebrows.
Right. As someone who has used that technique for a couple different cosplays, I will say, make sure you let the glue dry between each layer and be careful of using a liquid-based makeup over it. Because if you're using a liquid makeup over eyebrows you've glued down, it can reactivate the glue. And I learned that the hard way.
Oh no!
Yeah. So using like powder and oil base over it is okay, but like if you have like a liquid foundation, Be careful.
Be very careful.
Yeah.
All right.
That's a good use. I totally
Very
forgot
good
about
use.
that. I also use it for like gluing down my wigs. Like even if it's not a lace front, like for prompto, I want the wig to seem like it's like right tight against my skin. So I'll still put like glue down my sideburns and just stick it on so it stays close to my face. And it's nice. It doesn't feel like it's like floating. Sometimes it feels like there's a little bit of like obviousness to a wig, but I like that because it helps it stay put.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, do we have any horror stories?
I got gassed at my work today.
Oh no. Yeah, what did happen with that?
Yeah, I got into work and things were going normal. Kids were coming in for their tutoring and we were all, doing our social distancing and everybody was all having fun. And then I was like, there's a weird smell in the air. And then the frickin' fire department suddenly bursts through the door and they're like, there's a gas leak. And I'm like, that explains the smell.
Oh no.
Yeah, and he's like, you should be fine. Like, he like went through with like this thing in his hand. I don't know what it was. But he's like, yeah, it seems like everything's fine. So, just as long as you don't open the doors too much, you should be okay. And I'm just like looking around. I'm like, I work with kids.
Oof, yeah.
These are small children in here. So I was like, kind of thinking about it. And then one of my other teachers comes up and he goes, I feel a little lightheaded. And I'm like, if you feel a little lightheaded, we're going to call it. I don't care.
Yeah.
Better safe than sorry.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah. So I was like calling up all the kids' parents and stuff and being like, can you come pick up your kid? There's a gas leak. They're fine. We just better safe than sorry. Yeah, that's not really a cosplay related one. My project room is a horror story. There we go. It is a disaster space.
I can't remember if I've told this one because it happened to a friend of mine, but like speaking of like open binding taping. Yeah, like it depends on your skin type what tapes are going to interact well with your skin where it's sensitive. And what I mean by open binding is you're basically taping your chest back so that you can wear like a low-cut shirt and not have anything show, and have it look like more masculine and whatnot. So I have done that for like characters like Seymour Guado from Final Fantasy 15 because he's a male character and I wanted to look like I had a more masculine chest. But you want to be really careful with what tapes you use. And I had a friend who was, we were still in like the early days of cosplay. So one of the tapes they used on a regular basis was duct tape.
Oh no.
Which it does work okay for some people, and not damage their skin, but it definitely is not a one size fits all thing. And this actually, that's not the worst. So they were taping for a cosplay during a convention, and we were getting ready at someone's house beforehand, and instead of the duct tape, they grabbed carpet tape, which is used for sticking carpet to floors. So it was very, like they didn't notice till the end of the day when they were trying to pull up the tape and it didn't come off. And I will just say that they still have some scars to this day. No. So please be careful about what tapes and adhesives you're using on your skin.
Ouchie, 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 ouchie,
ouchie. Yeah.
Oh, so much ouch.
Yeah. So if you guys at home have a horror story you'd like to share with us or lessons learned from various adhesives and things that you want to share, you can send those to us at cosplaystitchandseam@gmail.com or
you can send them to the website through the Google form at cosplaystitchandseam.com
or you can go to our Facebook page and message us there and join our awesome cosplay community. Some really awesome people sharing our work in progress Wednesdays, or just share whatever you're working on. We would love to see it regardless. If you also want to join our Discord, we'll post that on our Twitter and on our Facebook page. If you want to support the show, share this podcast with a friend, an episode or two that you think would be helpful or that they would enjoy. After 100 episodes, I'm sure that there's something that your friend would probably like.
I hope.
I hope so.
Maybe.
You could always leave us a review on Apple Podcast or wherever they do. We will happily read them on the air and give you a shout out on the show. Speaking of supporting the show and getting a shout out, you can join our Patreon, patreon.com/cosplaystitch. And there, for $3 a month, we will give you a shout out on the show. And $5 a month, you can join our D&D game, just like all these fantastic people: Hot Riku, Rena Mira, Jazzy Kofed, Jaguar Quinn, Gloria Shu, Sudi, Stacy Pitt, Shock H, and Silver Deeds. Thank you so much for being so awesome, you guys. If Patreon is not your thing and you just want a one-time thing, maybe you just want to throw some PayPal, $5 or PayPal, you can always go to our Coffee, KOFI, and then Cosplay Stitch as well.
Yay! Thanks as always to Macy Roberts for the use of her theme song, and David Jeffress for his amazing editing and his awesome podcasts that are also going on. What you got?
Yeah.
Well, I still have Dungeons and Chill. It is a real play D&D podcast with me and a bunch of my friends, and we are just it's just so much fun to play D&D, especially right now when it feels like there's just so much going on. You just kind of disconnect from reality for a little bit, and let's go fight some trolls together.
Yay!
And then on Comics Trades Monthly, a podcast where we talk about comic books and their impact on us and the rest of the world around us. We for this month, we are reading Doom Patrol by Grant Morrison. And so that has been very interesting, especially after watching the TV show and then reading the comic book. Very different paths.
Nice.
That's super cool.
Yeah. Well,
Whale.
I would say that learning about all these glues and adhesives has shown me there's a lot I don't know yet, because, I'd hate to have gotten calky about it.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. Bye, guys. We'll see you later.
Oh,
Bye.
this wasn't the obvious sticky ones we were doing earlier.
We are reading Doom Patrol by Grant Morrison, I think.
I believe you.
Grant Morrison, yes. I was thinking it was either Alan Moore or Grant Morrison. Doom Patrol by Grant Morrison.